G'day guys, and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're taking a look at classification of a business, and in particular we're going to look at legal structure as a method to be able to classify a business. Now there are four key ways in which to classify a business. The first way to do that is to take a look at the size of the business or the company. Is it small, medium or large? It's a pretty easy way to identify some differences amongst various businesses and companies. The next way that we've already looked at is to take a look at the scale. Now the syllabus doesn't say scale, not surprisingly. It's a little bit crappy sometimes, but that's what it's getting at when it talks about local, national and global scale. So does a business operate just at the local level? Does it have customers and shops, stores all around Australia, the national level? Or is it a global business like Qantas and Nike that operates on a global scale? The third way to classify a business is to take a look at the industry or the industry sector. So in the primary industry, the secondary industry, or the tertiary, the service-based industry. But what we're looking at today is none of those. We are looking at classifying a business, and we're taking a look at the legal structure. This is another way to look at a business, a snapshot of the business, and to see what legal structure the business has. Now there's 5 different types of legal structures a business can have. We're going to look at just one of those today, which is called a sole trader or a sole trading business. Sole meaning one. I want that in your mind the whole time. The other 4 ways that are part of legal structure include partnership, private company, and you know it's a private company if at the end of the name it's got Pty Ltd. There's other things to show that too. That's a clear indication though. Also a public company, and the last one is a GBE or a government enterprise, as the syllabus says, and that's a government owned business. Alright, today we are looking at sole traders, and we need to understand what this means. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages as well? Alright, a sole trader is a business that is owned and operated by one person. The owner may employ other people or not, but in terms of being a sole trading business, one owner only, not 2 or more. It also becomes a partnership or a company. Okay, so they can have lots of workers working for them. They don't generally, they might have a few, but it is that one owner. Okay, they are the person who provides all the finance, they make all the decisions and take all the responsibility for the operation of the business. Now this type of business is pretty easy to set up in terms of the legal requirements, and that's a key reason why it's one of the most popular businesses to have. The only legal requirement you really must have for a sole trading business is that the name of the business needs to be registered if the name is different from the owner. If it's the same, it's okay. But if you've come up with some fancy, catchy new type of name, then you must have it registered. Otherwise, it's sweet as. Now, some of the basic advantages include low cost to entry compared to the other legal structures. You get complete 100% control, and there's less red tape, less government regulation. I'll look at some other advantages a little bit later. Some other basic disadvantages include personal unlimited liability. It's a bit of a worry. And basically that means if your business becomes bankrupt because of whatever reason, and we'll look at that later on, reasons why businesses cease to exist, then you can lose your personal assets as well because it's not incorporated, it's not a company, and it's deemed to be the one entity, you and your business. Now it's difficult to operate if sick in terms of a sole trader because you're the only person who owns it and often the only person who's working for the business. The end of the business is when the owner dies. They don't have perpetual succession. So if the owner dies, it's finished. And generally sole trading businesses in terms of size are small, and they often in terms of scale operate at that local level. So we're seeing some combinations between these different structures. Sole traders, small. Sole traders, scale is local level. We take a look at public companies. They're large generally, and they're at a national or global scale. All right, some other key advantages and disadvantages. As I said, there's low cost of entry for an advantage. It's the simplest form. You have complete control. 100% ownership gives you that complete control. It's less costly to operate. It's another pro. No partner disputes. I mean, ask any marriage, even with your best friend. There's always going to be issues, fights and problems. That's a little bit of a downside with partnerships and with other companies and things. If you don't get along with your partner or with other members of a private company, public company too, I suppose, then it can be a problem. So no partner disputes. It's a good thing. Owner's right to keep all profits. Well, you're the one owner. All the profits are all yours. Sweet as. But all the losses, they're not shared either. That's a disadvantage. They're all yours. There's less government regulation, as I mentioned before. Now, there's no tax on profits because it's not a company, only on personal income. So your tax rate is not, the 30%, okay, or the reduced amount now with the business tax rates under $10 million turnover, okay, but it's taxed based on your personal income. Now, the disadvantages, and there are some of these too, and often in an essay or a short answer question, you need to, bring up some of these disadvantages, some of these advantages. There's personal unlimited liability for business debts, okay, that's why I said there's unlimited liability. You and the business are one legal entity. All right, your business becomes bankrupt, you potentially become bankrupt. Your assets, your personal assets, can be sold off. Not so good. End of business when owner dies. There is no perpetual succession. Remember that term, perpetual succession. Might be a definition you need to use or a question you need to answer. Difficult to operate if sick. If you've got 7 partners and one person's sick, it's not a big deal. You're on your own, it makes it a lot harder. You need to carry all the losses. Like I said, with the advantages, if you keep all the coin, the profits, you also need to deal with all the losses. There's a burden of management. You have to look after other workers that are there solely on your own. You need to be able to perform a very wide variety of tasks, and you can have difficulty in raising finance for expansion. All right, guys, thanks for listening. See you next time. Goodbye.